I'm here with Alan Yentob from the Beeb. This is my friend Mark. He will be underscoring this interview, which I think will be a first. I don't know of an interview that's ever been underscored.
I'm sure the BBC has done it all.
That would be good. Why don't you underscore the entire interview?
I don't want to.
Oh, come on, bring me back.
There's no one quite like Bette Midler.
Don't you know who I am?
Her talents took her from Broadway to pop and then screen stardom.
Ta-da!
An outrageous, captivating entertainer with a soulful voice.
God is watching us from a distance.
And a raucous wit.
My boyfriend Ernie said to me, Soph, if you could learn to cook, we could fire the chef. I said, Ernie, if you could learn to fuck, we could fire the chauffeur.
Come on to my house, I'm gonna give you candy. Come on to my
I've been invited to New York to spend time with Bette and go back to some of the old haunts that were important stepping stones in her career, if we can find them.
That doesn't look like it. No, that's not it. But this, well, it must have had, this must have been the doorway. This was the site of a club where I did some of my greatest shows.
I'm gonna give you everything.
Inspired by the girl groups of her youth, Bette's making a new album with longtime collaborator Marc Shaiman.
Mr. Sandman.
And I'll be sitting in on the sessions.
You had that show, Smash, a couple of years ago.
Hairspray.
Let's not.
Hairspray.
You had Hairspray. I said Hairspray. God damn it. Okay. Anyway.
Singer, comedian, author, dancer, producer, actor, activist, mother. This is the divine Bette Midler.
Bring me a dream. Bring us a dream.
Is the Bette Midler I'm talking to the same Bette Midler who's on stage?
No. Thank God. I mean, how could you live with that? How could you be like that all day long, every day of the week? It can be tiring. It can be tiring.
I'm afraid I have to go back to the beginning.
Oh my goodness, the childhood, here it comes.
Yeah.
Oops. It was an interesting childhood because I was in the most beautiful place in the whole world, and I thought the whole world looked like that. I was in Hawaii.
I saw the splendor of the moonlight on Honolulu Bay.
Bette's father, Fred, was a painter in the army, and her mother, Ruth, was a seamstress. They moved from New Jersey to Hawaii when Fred was transferred. Ruth was an avid movie buff, and when daughter number 3 came along in 1945, she named her after Betty Davis.
I grew up in what they would call the projects today, but we were not rich. We were not even middle class. We were like in the bottom strata.
Growing up in a tropical paradise was colorful, but being Jewish with East Coast parents, Bette didn't quite fit in.
It was very tough being a Jewish girl in a Samoan neighborhood. Everybody was Asian. There were no other haoles, which is the Hawaiian expression for white people. So she didn't exactly grow up in the Obama section of Honolulu.
Do you think that sense of being in a community where there were lots of different kinds of people was that your kind of curiosity was aroused? So you took all that stuff in, did you?
Oh,
about
absolutely.
people?
Yes, I do. And I'm grateful for it. I think it's terrific.
So where did the allure of show business and singing and all this come from?
I think I had some opportunities to sing when I was a very little girl, and I noticed that a lot of people didn't sing, which surprised me because I was singing louder than anybody.
Bette entered a talent show aged 11, singing the Andrews Sisters' Lullaby on Broadway, and she won. The song would help define her act for years to come.
I noticed that they liked you if you sang and were funny and all those kinds of things. And in high school, I worked in the library during the summer, and the librarian didn't pay me. She gave us tickets to the community theater. And when I saw those people in their pink tights and their lipstick and their rouge and their fake hair, I mean, it was all over for me. I was completely mesmerized. It was just like Pinocchio, you know? Hi, diddly. It really was. And I mean, I've been at it. I've been in pink tights and pink lights for a long time, so I'm a little bit over it. But in those days, it was mesmerizing.
Bette decided there and then that showbiz was a career for her, but her father hated the idea.
My mother was a big show business person. I mean, she loved it. She was entertained by it. She enjoyed it. She was amused by it. My father didn't want to have anything to do with it. My father was a curmudgeon.
I think that it's something that she loved. I think that she wanted her dad's approval, and I say that very honestly.
Well, it's one for the money, two for the show, three to get ready.
Like teenagers everywhere, she immersed herself in music. This was the 50s, after all, and rock and roll was everywhere. But unlike most teenagers, Bette listened to her parents' records, too.
She loved the girl singers, always, 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 from the Andrews sisters, the Boswell sisters on.
Crazy people like me, go crazy old people like you.
They were really interesting, the Boswells. They were from New Orleans. One girl was a piano player and wrote all the arrangements. And they were sensational. And they're completely forgotten now. And I find that so interesting, that they would have been, you know, everybody knew them, and now no one knows them.
It isn't the paddle, it's not the canoe.
These early girl groups would provide her with a lifelong inspiration.
It isn't the love dreams that bring joy to you. It's the girl, oh, it's the girl.
Boswell Sisters was really the first record that my parents ever had. And in fact, I recorded that one side of that record for this album.
It isn't the paddle, it's not the canoe. It isn't the river or skies that are blue. It isn't the love dreams that bring joy to you.
It's the girl that makes you happy, and it's the girl that makes you blue.
You often out there. Oh, that was so great. I sang it every night of my life.
So you knew what you wanted to do.
I did.
But you weren't quite in the right place for it. But I'm kind of interested that this notion that one year you're in a pineapple factory. Please tell me about the pineapple
Well, I was in the
factory.
pineapple. I worked, see, people say, I'm not doing that. I worked like a little beaver from the time I was 13, but everybody did. That's what you did.
You once worked, didn't you, when you were in Hawaii, you worked in a canning factory, wasn't it? Pineapple canning factory.
Pineapple cannery, yeah.
What did you do?
I was the chief chunker.
Pineapple princess, he calls me pineapple princess all day.
You worked in the pineapple factory. It was $1.25 an hour until you made enough money to do what it is you needed to do.
Bette was alone and just shy of 20 years old when she left Hawaii in 1965. For a young woman with aspirations of becoming a serious dramatic actress, New York was the place to be.
She's very bright and she did very well in school, but I think that she had something that she had to get out of her, and she was never going to accomplish that in Hawaii, so I think that she had to go someplace where you could do that.
The need was so great to go and do whatever it was that I was, that I felt I had the ability to do. And it's so interesting because I'm such a coward. I am one of the most frightened persons I've ever, in my life I don't know anyone who's as scared as I am. And yet I never looked back. I got on the plane, I got there, I booked myself into a hotel, I started going on auditions like I knew what I was doing. And it never occurred to me that I would get into any trouble. I did, but I was fearless.
What kind of trouble did you get
Oh,
into?
people always get into trouble, bad boyfriends and all that sort of thing.
Oh, yeah.
In the heart of little old New York, you'll find a thoroughfare. It's the part of little old New York that runs into Times Square.
Bette wanted to live right in the middle of the theatre district and got a cheap hotel room near 42nd Street, just off Broadway.
42nd Street.
42nd Street was notorious for being a kind of a hotbed for the beats and for people who were, you know, who were marginalized. You know, junkies, winos, poets.
But weren't you, as a kid, weren't you quite attracted to that kind of low
Well,
rent
who
side?
isn't? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
The Honolulu of the 50s was always full of sailors hanging out in the red light district. Bette developed a fascination and an empathy for the freaks at the port and for all outsiders that would remain with her all her life.
Yes, I really was fascinated, but I think everyone is to a degree. But that was when it was in the margins. Now it's mainstream, so there's no more fascination. I have no tattoos.
First of all, you went to, I suppose, endless auditions, did you? Is that what happened?
I did go to auditions. I didn't have much luck. I mean, I had to feel my way. I didn't know I didn't know about headshots, and I didn't know about agents, and I didn't know about, I didn't know what the hierarchy of the auditions was. I didn't know that certain magazines would show you certain kinds of auditions, like porn, but they wouldn't show you other kinds of auditions. I had to learn that. It didn't take me long, though. It was a very simple business in those days.
Sunrise, sunset, sunrise, sunset, swiftly.
After a year of bit parts, Bette Midler got her big break in 1966 when she landed a role in one of the hottest shows in town, Fiddler on the Roof.
Is it true the casting director thought you weren't Jewish enough?
No, the casting director thought I was too short and too fat. The girl was the daughter, the oldest daughter was supposed to be tall and lean, and I was very little and round. And it was interesting because the casting director called me up the morning of the audition and said, "I don't think you should take this audition because if Jerry Robbins sees you, he won't even let you in the chorus because you're the wrong type." So I said, "Well, I came to meet him. I just want to see him." And I hung up. I'm going to take the audition. I hung up, and I was in tears. And then when I got to the audition, I was so distressed that during the scene, the character was supposed to cry. Of course, I let loose floods of tears because I was so stressed out. And I got the job. Yes. And I cried every night for 3 years.
Dear Yentob, see that he's gentle, remember, you were also a bride. It's not that I'm sentimental, it's just that I'm terrified.
As the oldest daughter, I was there for about 3 years. And that was very stressful because I couldn't, you're supposed to go, do the role for a certain amount of time, and then you're supposed to move on, and get another, and move up. And I couldn't seem to move up. And I wanted to be, in my heart, a great dramatic actress. And I thought that I had the range for it. I wanted to be an Anna Magnani, a type like that, someone who had got those kinds of roles. And that did not come easily. And then in the middle of all this was all that excitement about music and rock and roll, and it was just, you just couldn't resist it. It was just wonderful.
Hot town, summer in the city, back of my neck getting dirt and gritty.
The time Bette was in Fiddler on the Roof coincided exactly with the rock explosion of the mid-60s. Greenwich Village, just a couple of miles south, was the eye of the storm. And of course, there was also the Stonewall riots that sparked the gay rights movement in 1969 and Vietnam.
I think it's time we stop, children. What's that sound? Everybody look what's going down.
It was a real hotbed of all sorts of things. It was all happening on that bus. So I got off my bus and I moved over to the other bus.
So from Broadway to Greenwich Village?
Yes, absolutely. There was a big party going on, and I wanted to be part of that party.
So, in 1969, Bette gave up the idea of making a living in the theatre and decided to reinvent herself as a new kind of torch singer, part retro, part utterly contemporary. It was back to the bottom of the ladder, doing gigs for free, hanging out with the freaks and the music makers.
You had your intellectuals, you had your last vestiges of the beatniks, and you had hippies, and you had drag queens, and you had the burgeoning gay culture that was coming out of that whole Stonewall thing.
You'd meet people that you would never have had the opportunity to meet. These were brand new situations. People were mixing. People who had never seen each other on the streets were suddenly, getting high together and dancing and carrying on and exchanging ideas. It was quite a time.
They said, "Hey, sugar, take a walk on the wild side." I said, "Hey, babe."
Bette took her move into music very seriously. She spent hours at the library listening to records and soaking up entire decades of musical history.
I listened to the blues. I listened to Bessie Smith. I listened to Aretha. I listened to just about everybody. I went back and forth, and I would binge listen, And I picked up a lot. I picked up a bunch. I don't write my own material. And I didn't know a lot of songwriters. So for me, it was hard. I had to freshen everything up all the time. And for me, it was hard because I didn't know enough people whose material I could draw on. People weren't just sitting down and writing songs for me. So it was really up to me to find the material.
Drinking again. Thinking of when you loved me. Having a few. Wishing.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Miss Bette Midler.
Fancy a pizza?
No wheat.
This pizzeria was once the home of the legendary improv comedy club. In the late 60s and early 70s, it was the place in Manhattan to see future legends like Richard Pryor or Lily Tomlin. But to play here, Bette had to adapt her act, and it was where she learned to mix Broadway, the blues, and burlesque.
It was a comedy club, and I was one of the very few singers here. And I realized, these guys are having an awful lot of fun, and you really did have to entertain. You had to be amusing.
It was just the best place for her to develop an act because it was primarily, at that point, a comics room, although we did have singers. So she, smart enough to blend in, came up with a snappy dialogue.
Now here's a lady who was never blue. Her material, maybe. She used to say, "I believe that everyone in life should have a mission. Making people happy is the height of my ambition. And when I get them happy, they stay in that condition."
I worked it up, and I had little impersonations that I do. I was taking cues from what other people were doing.
So was this a sort of Sophie Tucker moments in the...
Not really, no. I was doing a Mae West impersonation as a matter of fact.
I met your kind before. Why don't you come up sometime, huh?
Well,
Don't be afraid, I won't tell.
But,
Come up, I'll tell your fortune.
And she was adorable. I loved her. I didn't know anything about her except that she was hilarious and very sexy, but in the most wonderfully funny way. And she had in her world a kind of a fascination for the underworld the same way that I did. So I really identified with her.
Here's the key. The room is 503. It's not so far to climb. Of course, you've heard the spider's invitation to the fly. Why don't you come up and see me sometime? Anytime. The sooner the better. Oh.
When you got your material, so who was it? You were doing ballads, weren't you? So it was...
I was a torch singer. I was interested in the blues, and I was interested in torch songs.
Did that go down well?
Actually, surprisingly well, because I was highly emotional.
It's not the way you smile that touched my heart. Sha-la-la-la-la. It's not the way you kiss that tears tears me apart. Oh, many, many, many nights roll by. I sit alone at home and I cry over you.
Bette Midler, for me, more than anyone, has the ability to, in a note, in one note, convey more than an emotion, an entire place that a person is singing, what's happened to this person and what they're singing about.
Baby, it's you. Baby, it's you.
So how do you combine the highly emotional with the extremely funny?
I turned on a dime. Also not very hard to do.
Well, quite hard to do, actually.
Not for me. Not for me.
But that's your thing then, being able to kind of change the mood.
That was a kind of thing. I actually didn't know I had that ability, but I learned it in places like this, like the improv.
Give a very warm welcome to this gal because she is the first great superstar at the Continental Baths. So what more can you say? Here she is, Bette Midler!
So now, down here is the sort of history.
Below here in the basement was where the Continental Baths started.
Is it true that all the men wore white towels quite a lot of
They wore
time?
white towels, yes, they did.
It's very warm in here. It reminds me of Back-to-Back Tan. Do you remember that movie? Oh, it was very steamy. Phew. I can't tell if the air conditioner is on. I hear something. But I'm not sure that's the air conditioner. You know?
I mean, people sitting in towels watching a show. It's very weird. I mean, even the Romans, really, or maybe not since the Romans. Nobody died, let me put it that way. No Christians were harmed inside.
It was gay, and this was before that. Like there was any like big gay thing in the States. They were all sort of hiding and their light in the closet, as it were.
And I was so completely obsessed with what I was doing. I didn't even notice. I mean, I could have been playing an old age home. As long as I was killing, I didn't care.
And is that where the collection of work from the Divine Missem came? The first album, which was such a spectacular success.
Yes, and one of the great things about this venue is that I did this material. I had to change this material up every single time I worked. So I had to scramble. I was always scrambling, but I had enough time to learn the songs so well that they became second nature to me. And after that, I never had the time. And that was it took me a long time to realize that the rehearsal process was really important to me. The actual working in front of a crowd was really, really important to my own, what it is that I do.
Is that the Chattanooga choo-choo? Track 29, well, you can give me a shine. I can afford to board a Chattanooga choo-choo. I got my fare with just a trifle spare.
I was doing a Broadway show, but I would run up to 72nd Street to the Baths and see her, which if you were female, your name had to be on the list. There was no other way you could get in. So there was a lot of men in towels and very steamy, and she tore up the joint.
An important guiding light around this time was Bill Hennessy, a hairdresser from Fiddler on the Roof. He wrote a lot of the bawdy jokes she told at the baths and was an invaluable source of advice in guiding the birth of Bette's alter ego, the divine Miss M.
Bill Hennessy, the late Bill Hennessy, walked her through the tiny little dressing room onto the stage and talked her into the divine Miss M character. Whispered in her ear and said, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this. And that was all, that was all that attitude.
Is it true that this is where the divine Miss M came from, the name?
Yes, the first night I worked here, the owner knocked on the door and he said, how shall I introduce you? And I said, tell them I'm divine. And I had always been called Miss M because my hairdresser was one of my best friends, Mr. G, Mr. Gerard. Always called me Miss M. I called Mr. G, he called me Miss M, so tell them I'm divine. So when he got on the microphone and introduced me, he said, "And now, ladies and gentlemen, the Divine Miss M." And there I was. And from that time on, I was always the Divine Miss M. Thank God. I mean, what serendipity.
Welcome to another foul evening with the Divine Miss M. After many a summer dies a swan, but not when they're stuck in a turkey as big as this one.
The Divine Miss M was what she used to say was the last of the truly trashy women. Everything you were afraid your little girl would grow up to be, and your little boy, too.
I just couldn't stop myself from building, layer upon layer of this character. And it was a kind of a throwback character. It was, I would look around on 42nd Street, I would see the hookers, I would see the drag queens, I would see people in, flaming wigs, I would see people in tight clothes, and it was a very creative time in the city. There was a lot of that going on. I wasn't the only one. But I was very observant, and I thought, oh, I like that. I like the trashiness of that.
I wanted to show you the good beneath the gaudy, the saint beneath all this paint, the sweet, pure, winsome little soul that lurks beneath this lurid exterior.
It's kind of an explosion of one facet of her personality, and it works because it gives her freedom. She gets to do what she wants to do on the stage, and she sets a tone with the audience of, I'm free up here, and so you are free out there. And I think that was always, at the beginning, what attracted people to her, and especially gay people.
But you got to have friends. You got to have friends. Yeah, to make that day last long.
This song became the anthem. This is the song that galvanized that audience, brought them to tears, because this was an audience that had been marginalized. It wasn't long after the Stonewall incident, and she recognized them, and she said, "I am one of you." She was this Jewish girl in an all-Samoan neighborhood. Her father didn't get what she did, and so for her to shine her great, big, loving, compassionate light was such a magnificent gesture.
Bette's piano player in the baths was the then unknown Barry Manilow. It would be the beginning of a long and fruitful musical collaboration.
She was the most talented woman I'd ever met, I'd ever played for. It's the most craziest lady that I've ever met in my life either. And I would guess if you put crazy and talented together, you get a superstar.
By the summer of 1970, the Improv's Bud Friedman was now Bette's manager. And despite not even having a record deal, there was enough of a buzz around his new client to get her an audition on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson.
In those days, Johnny could make a star overnight.
He got me an audition for The Tonight Show. And I was wearing my vintage clothes at the time. And when I got out of the town car to go to the audition, which was at RCA at the Rockefeller Center, my dress ripped right across the back, right across my butt. And I said, "Oh my God, Bud, give me your jacket. My dress is ripped. My ass is hanging out."
And I said, "Well, give me my jacket. What about my dignity?" She says, "What about my ass?" So we found some pins when we got to the Johnny Victor Theater, and they pinned her up. And the rest, as they say, is history.
The Carson appearance was the first of many, and Bette Midler soon became one of his regulars.
I said it before when you were first on the show, and I mean it. I said, you're going to be something to contend with. You're going to be a big star in this business because you are unique and you're different.
Thank you.
You will.
Thank you. You gotta keep trucking.
When it all comes together, it'll happen.
I can't wait.
All righty, well.
Johnny Carson was great to me. He loved me, he supported me, he called me back again and again. He thought I was hilarious.
That first Tonight Show appearance put her firmly on the map, but Bette's father still didn't approve.
He wasn't brilliant in what you were up to.
No, he thought it was a terrible idea. He thought it was a highway to hell. He just didn't approve of it.
So even when you've
He was
done
a
the Johnny...
completely practical man.
When you've done the Johnny Carson show...
He was disinterested. He was not interested. He wasn't interested.
Was that hurtful?
What?
Was it hurtful?
Very hurtful. It was very hurtful. But I've gotten over it. He was what he was. If it hadn't been for him, I wouldn't be what I am. And I've certainly had a lot of fun. I've had a good run. I mean, I have a beautiful child. I have a wonderful husband. I love what I do for the most part, and it's fine. We came to a very nice accommodation at the end.
Yeah, I gathered that you made up somehow.
Yes. It's good when you do that. It's best to do that.
Back in 1972, Bette had now outgrown her old manager.
We had a year's contract. It was up, and she decided, and she was being bombarded by that time. Everyone was after her.
Aaron Russo took over, but very soon he was more than her manager. He became her boyfriend.
Now it's a mambo, mambo Italiano, a mambo Italiano.
He was crazy about me, He was my boyfriend for a while, and then I said, I can't breathe, and he, we broke up, and it was hard for him to work with me, seeing me with other guys, and it was very stressful.
He loved her and worshipped her, and he wanted to make her a star, and he did.
This awkward situation of ex-boyfriend as manager would continue for several years. And meanwhile, Bette was becoming a local phenomenon in New York, and record companies were starting to get interested. She had a regular gig and a loyal clientele at a club uptown, and one night there proved to be even more important than a national TV appearance.
In late 1972, I had the opportunity of hearing a young lady was making a lot of noise in a little club called the Downstairs at the Upstairs.
So this is it then.
This was the site of a club where I did some of my greatest shows. It was called the Downstairs at the Upstairs and the Upstairs at the Downstairs. When you climbed the stairs, it was the upstairs at the downstairs, and of course on the ground floor was the downstairs at the upstairs where the bar was. And I played about there. It was a tiny room.
And I went in one evening and was completely knocked out by Miss Bette Midler.
This was the big breakthrough, though, this place.
It was really huge.
So Armitage again, and this was the beginning of the Divine Miss M album, which...
Yes, he signed me, which was a big thrill for me because I didn't think that was going to happen. And yet, I put it out there and it happened.
Do you wanna dance and hold my hand? Tell me you're my lover man. Oh,
This
is Atlantic Studios.
This was where Ahmed had his offices, and now it's a wig store.
So the Divine Miss M, you recorded that here?
I recorded my first album here, The Divine Miss M, and I recorded Bette Midler here. I made a lot of wonderful music here, as everybody did. I mean, Wilson Pickett, the Stones, Aretha.
Looking out on the morning rain, I used to feel so uninspired.
The thing that's so peculiar about us taking this walk is that the footprint of my life seems to be disappearing. These memories that I have are all gone. When I went back to Honolulu, went back to Hawaii, I went to see my old house one year, and my house was my house was 200 feet below me because they had made a freeway right on where my house was. So you see that all the time.
Didn't they ask your permission?
No, they never asked. I was so heartbroken. But that's, my husband has a saying, nothing is permanent.
For her debut album, Bette had brought an eclectic mix of old and new songs into the studio.
That's when I felt the leader of a pack.
But old people, they just grow lonesome, waiting for someone to say hello in there, hello.
The men given the tricky task of making it a cohesive whole were soul producer Joel Dawn and her friend Barry Manilow.
And we started to make the record. I made the record with Joel Dorn, who had made records with Roberta Flack, who I also adored. And we hit the skids really early on, and Ahmet came in, and Barry Manilow was at odds with the producer. It was a kind of a stressful time, but
But
Ahmet eventually,
that combination
it worked.
of Joel
and yes, and
Barry.
Ahmet, a lot of that first album is live.
They recorded an entire album, and Ahmet listened to the record and said, I don't get from this record what I got. And what they finally did was put people in here, you know,
In the
inside
studio.
the booth. And so she had an audience, and they recorded it live.
To help recreate this atmosphere in the studio, Bette brought in her newly formed backing singers from her live show, the Harlettes.
I do remember the studio atmosphere being very lively. We were all studio singers, and Barry was a studio singer. We all had that, we all were familiar with that kind of levity. And Bette, I don't think quite as much because she was not familiar with that milieu. And thank goodness, you know, Atlantic Records said, gee, that's a really good way to do it, and let her be.
And I am all alone.
The recording studio was a whole new medium for Bette.
Beside me, and my problems have all... Bass drum microphone. Have all gone.
We're having notes. We're gonna have notes. Thanks very much. We're not gonna have notes downstairs. You wanna come? Good. Notes, that's what we do in this, we give each other notes. That was terrible. You were the pits on that number. Kill them. Well, they don't kill me first.
The Harlettes were inspired by Bette's love of girl groups. She'd always dreamed of having her own, and now she had a female chorus.
Come on, girl.
But not only were we singing backgrounds for her, she really incorporated us into the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, a rousing hand for the semi-classical Harlettes. Ladies!
We were her Greek chorus. We underscored her attitude.
I'll never forget the first time I found these girls selling their papayas on 42nd Street.
With the support of Bette's sultry Harlettes, her performances became known for their show-stopping dance routines.
Not only are my girls fine singers and dancers, not only are they gorgeous and talented, but they also think I'm God.
It was very hard work, but we laughed. We laughed an awful, awful lot.
He was the latest drumming man from Chicago way. He had a boogie style that no one else could play. He was a top man at his craft. But then his number gave up and he was gone in the draft. He's in the army now. I'm going heavily. He's the boogie woogie bugle boy, stop believe me.
So, in 1972, while the American charts were full of British heavy rockers like Deep Purple and Led Zeppelin, the Divine Miss M album swam against the tide, hitting the top 10. And Bette went on to win Best New Artist at the Grammys. Bette Midler owned the second half of the 70s. Her second album was also a smash, and her increasingly ambitious tours were sellouts up and down the country. She became a regular face on TV and now had her own specials.
Oklahoma, where the wind comes sweeping down the plain, and the waving weeds will sure smell sweet when the wind comes right behind the rain.
Network television was so heavy on censorship that they were afraid of her, and she'd had a couple of deals to do specials before, and they all fell through because they would say, oh, you can't do this and you can't do that and you can't do the other thing. And we just said, then hell with it. Let's not do it. And then this one came along and they said, well, you can do some stuff. They were like being a little bit leaner.
And there's that sequence with Dustin in that. How did that come about?
I think my manager ran into him and said, would you like to be on Bette's show? And he said, sure.
And so Dustin came in and they wrote a song together and did a number together, and it was pretty great. And we won the Emmy for that.
Well, how you doing, G? You're looking good. I heard you moved from the neighborhood. Your mom came by, she was singing her blues. I'm glad you called, I got nothing to do.
I was so lucky to have him on that show.
She was mixing with movie stars, and then she became one.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Rose.
The Rose was loosely based on the tragic life of Janis Joplin, and Bette was given the title role of self-destructive singer Mary Rose.
Fucking clowns are just alike.
Welcome to rock and roll.
I think The Rose is quite exceptional film. What I found amazing was that the way you took ownership of those songs, which is not really your canon, it's come from something else.
It was my wannabe canon. It was my wannabe. That's what I wanted to do. I really wanted to do that.
Really?
But I never got the material.
Wow. How extraordinary was she in The Rose, and how much pathos, and how about her singing?
But, you know, she didn't look like the average movie star. So it was an unconventional kind of stardom. Well, she knew she wasn't a glamorous movie star-looking person, and yes, it concerned her. But once she sensed how much I appreciated her and how all I wanted was the best for her, she surrendered and became the actress that she should be. She just fit it. You know, her life reflected the circumstances of the picture. You know, that phone booth scene in The Rose when she calls her parents.
Daddy? Daddy, is that you? You on the phone upstairs?
I think the difficulty she had with her father was a significant element in her being able to access her talent.
I love you. Bye.
But I sense your own struggles and your own experience are very much in that film.
Very much.
Not least the relationship with the manager, played by Alan Bates, but Aaron Russo. At that time, you were going through quite a difficult period with him, weren't you?
It was tough backstage. It was very tough. And I have to give credit where credit is due. If it hadn't been for Aaron, that movie never would have been made. Because he gave it to me. They gave it to me years before, and I said, don't bring this to me. I don't want this. And he was the one who finally brought me around and around and around and convinced me to do it, so.
I would like to have some time to myself before I kick off.
You come into an inheritance or
No,
something.
man, I just can't dredge up the sincerity anymore.
Oh, wrong.
No, don't tell me wrong, man.
Look, I'm fucking running the Green Bay Packers here. Oh, okay, you want out, eh? All right, let's call in the dogs then. Piss on the fire.
She had a manager, a thug, kind of tough guy, you know. I remember once on one of the first days of shooting I was with Alan Bates, and I was going to shoot a scene with her, and all of a sudden I felt an arm on my shoulder. It was her manager, this a thug who's since passed away. He said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm gonna talk to Bette." He says, "No, you talk to me, and I talk to Bette." I said, "Oh, really?" So I called the police who were there. I said, "I want him out of here. I don't want to see him until we have an answer print."
The Rose would go on to earn her critical acclaim and an Oscar nomination for Best Actress. So in 1978, with the film in the can, Bette returned to the more familiar territory of the stage with her next big project. And it doesn't get much bigger than a world tour.
This was a kind of huge endeavor, wasn't it?
Yeah. And a lot of things happened. We had, fist fights, drunken, people setting fires to rooms, all that sort of thing. And it was, but the shows were great.
This tour saw a flowering of the characters and routines that would come to define Bette Midler for the next 30 years.
It looked incredibly ambitious, actually.
They're all very ambitious, and sometimes they're really awful, but I do it anyway. Because I figure, hey, they're paying, they want something original, they want something that they've never seen before. Let's try some things.
One of the goofiest ideas from that time is surely Dolores Delago, the singing mermaid.
One of my favorite characters in literature is the Little Mermaid. I was actually in Denmark, and I saw the statue. I went to the harbor to see her, and she was just so fabulous and so beautiful and kind of hot in a way. She had, the first time I did her, she had no way of getting around. She only hopped. And it looked kind of pathetic.
And then the conversation, well, what do we do with her? And I said, well, how does she get around? Well, put her in a wheelchair. I mean, because it's the best mode of transportation. How else is a mermaid going to get around? And we said, well, gee, won't that offend people? And that, of course, was all we had to hear, because we said, well, yes, but they'd be fools. We're not making fun of anybody. We've got a goddamn mermaid.
I remember the first day she sat down in that wheelchair and she started to work it and it jerked around backwards and forwards. She had us rolling all over the floor. That tour, she was the only one in the wheelchair. Then the next tour, she and the Harlettes were in the wheelchair.
Dolores proved a firm favorite with the public and became more extravagant with every show.
I was in one time. They had cranked my battery up, the battery up on my chair, and they didn't tell me, and I couldn't get it to stop. And when I finally braked it, it flung me out into the audience, and I landed, fortunately, in an empty seat right in between the two, right like. I told everybody, I'm not putting that fishtail on anymore.
Her comedy had to be over the top because she was a woman. She needed all the props and all of the exaggeration to simply create such a light that people would see her, because she would have otherwise been dismissed.
Would an evening be complete without a visit from Sophie Tucker?
I will never forget it,
What about Sophie Tucker?
Well, my friend Bruce Vilanch, we used to trade barbs in the backstage, and he always did Sophie Tucker. Not Sophie Tucker, but a character like Sophie Tucker. And she told these terrible, risque jokes, and I just picked it up. I picked it up from him.
Sophie Tucker was the American comedic actress renowned for delivering risque songs in the 1930s.
I had seen Sophie Tucker as a child, and I was a huge fan. And her rhythms, you know, Sophie Tucker's rhythms were just hilarious because everything was very forceful. And so when she told you this thing, you knew that she meant it, goddammit.
I'll never forget it, you know. I was terribly drunk the other night. Woke up, there was an elephant in my bed. I said, Lord have mercy, I must have been tight last night. Well, said the elephant.
I think that she did that a lot for shock value, you know. I think that, but there was always a cutoff point. She would push that envelope, but it never got into nasty. It was just bawdy.
Pretty legs, great big knockers. That's what sells them tickets at the door. Yeah, pretty legs, great big knockers. Honey, these are real showstoppers. That's what keeps them coming back for more.
How did you lose what you say you had at the beginning, which is this sort of fearfulness? How did you lose it and gain the confidence to go and do that?
I think the stage
stuff?
is where I live. That's my home. I was fearless on the stage. I really was fearless. But I mean, for me to cross the street is like, I can't do it. I am just the biggest chicken in the whole world until I get on the stage, and then I am in command. It really is where I live. It's my spiritual home. It's my physical home. I understand it. I know it. I face the crowd as if they were just one person, as if it was some old friend I hadn't seen in a long time.
She's at home on stage, and by that I mean you're at home with her. She is a hostess of a great party, and you are the guest, and she's entertaining you. And she comes out on stage, and right away, you're pals.
I bet you didn't expect me to look quite this fabulous.
And how did you, I mean, what distinguishes you? What made you stand out? Partly because you were not afraid to be whoever you wanted to be, but
yes.
Secondly, because also you mixed genres, you know, so whether musically, but also this rap that you had, which it really kind of was.
I think it was all those things, which is maybe three things, those things, the mixing of the genres and the talking that I did incessantly, which was fortunately amusing, and the fearlessness, but more than anything, I think, was the emotion. More than anything, over all of that was the fact that I made people feel something. They weren't sure what it was, but they felt when they would come feeling, getting ready, ready to receive something, and when they left, they were wired. Something had happened to them, and that's I think what the main overriding thing is, more than anything else.
Some say love.
This touching ballad won Bette a Grammy for Best Female Performance.
That drowns the tender reed. Some say love, it is a razor that leaves your soul to bleed.
That's what you want. You want to make sure the audience is fed and sated. And when it's done, they're good. They're good. They can move on and talk about that performance for the next week, because something big happened. And that's the truth of Bette's performances. She transports the audiences because she insists that they come along with her, because she shows up with so much.
Lies the seed that with the sun's love in the spring becomes the rose.
Back in 1979, the world tour had ended in triumph. But behind the scenes, the situation with Aaron had become untenable.
And we'd be doing great, and then this person would come into the room, and all of the air would get sucked out of the room. And then immediately, she would become defensive.
Unfortunately, we came to a parting of the ways, and I had to swim upstream, and I had to do it by myself. It wasn't easy, and it took me years to understand how much he had actually done for me.
Marvelous mambo,
Bette was now learning to make her own decisions, and the first project was her return to film. Sadly, Jinx lived up to its title. Critics said Bette looked uncomfortable in the role, and the film bombed at the box office.
So after that, it was like, we were all very sad for ourselves.
Was that because, post-Aaron, you may have thought to yourself, I'm going to do what I want to do now?
Yeah.
Is that partly it, and somehow
It was
or other-
partly that, and it was partly the fact that I didn't understand how long it took. There were writers to deal with, and then there was the studio that said that this is not good good enough, you need another draft, then you'd have another draft, then the writer would quit, then you'd have to get another writer, and people just got mad.
You don't love me anymore, do you?
I'm sick and tired of being your dish rag.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna get even.
Yeah, that's a threat.
That's a threat.
But I threw myself into the deep end, and that's when the doubts started to creep in, because all of a sudden these things were happening to me that I didn't understand, and I made a lot of mistakes, especially in those first 3 years, that were, left big scars.
After Jinx, the early 80s were difficult. The movie had given Bette Midler a bad name, and the film offers dried up.
Moving on a few years, you meet Harry, I know, and you get married, and somehow it must have changed. I sense it changed your whole life. Really.
Yes, it did. It refocused me. I saw another door to walk through, and I walked through it. Fearlessly, I might add, because I married my husband after 6 weeks. And we're still married. But it was time. It was time. Everything was shifting, and it was time.
Now, Bette's personal life was working. And then she was offered a film that would revitalize her career. She discovered she could do screen comedy and do it well.
And in fact, Paul Mazursky was the one who lifted me from the slough of despond and put me in Down and Out in Beverly Hills.
What happened to the poor guy?
He's in the hot tub.
He's still here?
Had a big hit with that, and then Disney kind of Touchstone. It was the adult arm of Disney. I had a good long run with them.
So after a series of hits in the late 80s, Bette Midler was again a bankable commodity in Hollywood, and soon had the clout to form her own company, All Girl Productions.
Oh, the sun beats down and burns the tar up on the roof.
The result was the most successful film of her entire career.
And your shoes get so hot, you wish your tired feet were fireproof.
It was even your girls' company who made that movie.
Yes, that was all girls. All girls.
All girls. That's
Our
not
motto,
bad.
we hold a grudge. Bonnie Bruckheimer said that. I didn't say that.
She was your collaborator.
She was my collaborator. She was a producer in our company, and that was the first thing we did.
Female stars learn very soon. When you become a star, you learn that you want to take control of your life, and it's not unusual for them to be the initiator of projects.
We were all girls because we didn't want to take any guff. You can be an honorary girl. We'll listen, but we're going to make the decisions.
Under the boardwalk, down by the sea.
Iris Rayner Dart wrote the original book about two friends who met on the beach, and the story was developed with Bette, the singer, in mind.
I was the inspiration for Iris to write that character, which was great because you always hope that if you have a personality that's a strong public personality, you always imagine, like in the old days, that they would write something for, like May. She wrote her own stuff because she tailor-made it to herself, to her own abilities. And so Iris basically did that for me, and I was really glad.
It roamed between a sort of, obviously an area which could allow sentimentality to creep in, and yet there was quite a lot of edge in it as well. in that film.
Yeah, I think so. For a commercial film, it had a certain amount of bite.
What the hell is going on here?
Would you please lower your voice?
No, I won't. I want to know what's eating you. You have been a total bitch ever since you came to New York.
I could say the same thing about you.
I've simply been reacting to you.
You know, give her a great role and she'll explode right in front of your eyes. You can be confident that that's going to happen because she's got the equipment.
It must have been cold there shadow, to never have sunlight on your face.
And of course, Beaches gave Bette her best ever selling song.
Let me shine, that's your way. You always walk a step behind.
But she would kill a ballad, honey. She'd wear you down. You'd wonder what happened. It's time for drinks. It's time for major libation.
Did you ever know that you're my hero? You're everything I would like to be.
But you remember the time you brought me Wind Beneath My Wings, and I said, I'm not singing that song.
Yeah.
Are you kidding? And he said to me, if you don't sing that song, I'll never speak to you again.
Beaches, with its theme of friendships lost, touched a nerve around the world. And now, Bette began to lose her friends and her most loyal fans when AIDS took hold in America.
To see all those aspirations, suddenly gay liberation happens and then somehow something terrible follows it.
I did my share. I did my part. I did what I had to do. I buried a lot of people.
I had some friends, but they're gone. Something came and took them away. And from the dusk till the dawn, here is where I stay.
I fundraised and I did the best I could. It was pretty wrenching. It was a pretty wrenching time.
Then in 1992, there was another goodbye. Johnny Carson was retiring and all of America was watching.
His last show that Johnny did at the end of his career, he had Bette on.
Oh, gee, Mr. Carson, I don't want to bother you. It's just that when I heard that you were leaving, well, it kind of broke my heart. I mean, I can't tell you how many nights I've laid in bed watching you, thinking to myself, should I change the color of my toenail polish?
She said, you know, they asked me to be the last guest. What should I sing? So I was thinking about it, and I remember I was in the shower, and I thought, one for my baby, one for the road. I mean, I just knew, bingo, like light bulb. I called her, still dripping wet. I said, I got it. One for my baby, one for the road. And for the next 3 weeks, it was nothing but, I can't sing the song. I don't want to sing the song. I'll sound horrible on the song. I don't got the chops to sing this song. I was like, Bette, please, just trust me on this one.
We're drinking, my friend, to the end of a sweet episode. Make it one for my baby and one more for the road.
I was in the back with my wife, and I was just crying, just, sobbing.
So drop another nickel in the machine.
So then they found that incredible angle that they'd never done, where you could see her sing and him watching, and I'm getting chills just thinking about it now.
For all of the years, for the laughs, for the tears, for the class that you showed, make it one for my baby and one more for the road.
It was amazing to experience. I tried not to allow it to overwhelm me because it could have very easily, but I was really honored.
Now that Bette had conquered Hollywood, she returned to New York and decided to give something back to the city she loved. In 1995, she founded the New York Restoration Project, an organization dedicated to raising funds to regenerate disadvantaged neighborhoods.
I'm beautiful, I'm beautiful, I'm beautiful, damn it. I'm beautiful.
We've built parks, we've renovated parks, we've built a boathouse, the first boathouse on the Harlem River in over 100 years for a community rowing. We teach, we educate, we own 52 community gardens. I'm really big into community gardens. It's great, great program.
So is it true that when you came back to New York from LA and you saw people dropping litter and you looked at
Oh my God, I flip out.
You flipped out?
I flip out. I flip out. Because, you know, we only have one planet.
You've always been someone very engaged with the world and the things that you think matter.
I actually became engaged with the world after I had my daughter. Really, that's when I sat up and said, well, this isn't, my daughter's here. Could we spruce this up a little bit? Could we fix this? That's because I got the sense that it wasn't the world that I had grown up in, which was a really sunny and bright and beautiful world.
So coming to the sort of a recent present, to take on Vegas, that's quite something. The biggest stage you could possibly take on, night after night, doing it for 2 years.
I took it on because I wanted to see what that was like. I knew that everybody else was doing it, and I wanted to do it too. You know, I'm very competitive that way. Ooh, I want to do that. So I did it, and then I was like, why is everyone doing this? This is so hard. You know, it's so hard. So I don't think I'll be doing that again. Even though I had some wonderful, memorable evenings, I don't think I'm going to do that again. I think that was the toughest thing I ever did.
Here I am, no need to search. Up here on my feathered perch, sweat like a whore in church. Boy, it's hot in here.
Running back and forth, singing live for 2 hours and dancing. Everything she does is extremely physical, and she works at it, whether it's at the treadmill or gymnasium, vocalizing. I mean, she can vocalize on the treadmill.
'Cause you know I'm on a mission of seduction, I confess. As the room gets hotter, we'll be wearing even less. All the doors are both head. You might be here till dawn. You can't stop the show, girl. You can't stop the show, girl. Can't stop the show, girl. When the show, girl.
I get the impression that although it seems effortless on stage, the amount of preparation you put into things, you question things all the time, so that must be quite consuming off stage, let alone
Well, you know, it is. It really is. You can have natural gifts, but you do have to hone them and keep them in shape. An actor, a singer, a dancer, these kinds of gifts are really ephemeral. They're like muscles, and if you don't keep them up, they will atrophy, they'll disappear. So the artist is often off by themselves, taking care of of their instrument. And it's not something that people often talk about because it's not particularly glamorous, it's the grunt work. But you really do have to keep it up. Over the years, voices will darken. You can't hit the high notes. You drank too much last night. Your face is puffy. You can't do the step. I mean, it's all a package. You never let them see you sweat. That old thing. You do your work, what you need to do, so that what you present to them is glorious. To me, it has to be excellent. It just has to be.
Holy moly, I tell you, when I'm creating a number for her, don't tell her I told you this, I have to finish the number completely. It needs to be spick and span. If the girls aren't cleaned up or something isn't quite still finished, she throws it out. But she is involved in every morsel.
It was a long stretch, and it was so big.
2 years.
It was 2 years, and it was so big, I couldn't take it anymore. I really had to lie down. And I decided, you know what, I need to strip this down. He always used to say, what are you doing that for?
Me and my partner, Scott, we always just say,
What are you doing
bed,
that for?
a stool, a microphone, and a spotlight, and an orchestra. but that's all you need.
I didn't have
I
that.
always find it odd how Bette wants to give the audience a big show.
Yeah.
And so that's
Well,
very
they pay.
great thing to respect. On the
Arts
other
of
hand,
us.
she's the last person on earth who needs anything
Well, that's
but
nice.
just the microphone.
Bette's new album, It's the Girls, is dedicated to all those girl groups she grew up with.
Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream.
It's a recurring theme that has influenced her stage performances, her Hollywood career, and of course her music for over 50 years. Girl power.
Lonesome nights are over, Mr. Sandman. I'm so alone, don't have nobody to call my own.
This was a magical experience, this last record that I made with Marc, which is a girl groups record. And it's funny because music is really my, the basis of my life.
That's where you started.
That's
You started
where-
listening
that's
to
the
the Andrews sisters and
of Boswell sisters, the Supremes, the Marvelettes, the Exciters, all those groups that were my age, at the time that they were most popular.
Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream, give him a pair of eyes with a come hither gleam.
Harmony is something that is so infectious and so inspirational, I think. I mean, solo voices are beautiful, but when they sing in harmony, it's like that chord, it's otherworldly. And I've always loved it, and I've always been a slave to it. So, I mean, I picked the best songs we could find that suited me.
One fine day, you'll look at me, and you will know our love was meant to be. One fine day, you're gonna want me for your girl. Oh yeah.
We are shorthand now. We've known each other for so long, and I have total trust in him. When there's a certain kind of music that if I want I go to him because he always delivers on that. He has a big heart. His heart is always in his chords, and he's a terrific accompanist. He's also a great arranger. I mean, he hears me.
Are you
breathe.
recording this?
He hears me breathe, and a lot of people don't hear you breathe. They're listening to something else. So he's been great.
Tell him that you're never gonna leave him. Tell him that you're always gonna love him. Tell him right now.
And this record was really a lot of fun because all the music on this record is familiar. His idea of taking something that is familiar and turning it into something that is unfamiliar and brand new we have the same sensibility. So that's a great thing.
I learned that from listening to Bette Midler records.
Sure. So here you are. We're a perfect team.
I know something about love. You gotta show it and make him see the moon up above. Go out and get him.
the album's coming out in November, very shortly. What's in your horizons?
I'm going to put the album out, and we're going to see what happens, and I think I'll probably take it on the road a little bit. I'd like to take it on the road in not the gigantic way. Or if I do take it on the road in a gigantic way, to be able to mix and match some theaters and some smaller rooms with the big rooms, only because I kind of miss that, because I do see the horizon looming up before me.
What's looming up?
Well, it's coming, and I know it's coming, and it's almost as if I almost would like to experience the world in a different way, not from the inside of a limo, not from a stage, but the way people experience the world. I want to see it. I want to be in it. Oh, God.
Don't go to bed just yet. Bette's putting on a show next on BBC One, live on stage in Las Vegas.